Hi, I'm Nikki from thecommunicationcoach.co.uk. Welcome to day 10 of my 10-day challenge. Thank you so much for being with me on this journey and for all your questions and your comments. I've really enjoyed the process. I've learned a lot over the last 10 days. I'm hoping what's happened is that you have become more self-aware of how you communicate and how you listen, and that you've been able to reflect and look at your particular styles. And so the final day today is going to be about emotion and logical thinking, and how when we're emotionally driven we behave in a very different way than when we are thinking rationally and thinking logically. So let me explain a little bit more about that. So when we are logical and rational, we deal with different situations and different issues in our lives in a more calm and considered manner. When we are emotionally driven, we often use behaviour and language that we wouldn't normally do. We say things that we know will hurt people, and we take actions that we know will hurt people. So, for example, on the extreme end, if you take the emotion jealousy, sadly, I have seen people kill over jealousy, or do irrational actions like follow people through jealousy or through confusion. And then if you ask them a few years down the line about their behaviour and they have a logical conversation, people will often say, gosh, I can't even believe that I did that. I can't believe that was me. On a more simplistic way, let's look at how you deal with situations each day in your own house. So perhaps sometimes you come home and the place is a mess, even if you've just got animals, or you don't have any animals, but something's happened specifically. Maybe you've lost your keys. And think about the reaction that you give to this. So sometimes we come home and the house is a mess, and we can deal with it perfectly logically and rationally and go, wow, the house is a mess, but I'm feeling pretty good, I've had a good day, I will clean it, I'll have something to eat and then I'll clean it. Other days we come home and there's a cup on the side and it's like the worst thing that could ever happen, because we're being emotionally driven, and we'll say and do things that have nothing to do with a simple cup on the side, but we'll be driven by the emotions of how we're feeling. The other thing I always find fascinating about adults is when we look after children, whether we're parents, aunties, uncles, or whatever sort of relationship we have with them, we always set off from home with a rucksack full of food and snacks, because we know that when kids get hungry or tired, they are different and they behave differently. Hey, guess what? That doesn't change when you're an adult. And yet lots of us go without breakfast and lunch, and then we wonder why we're hungry or angry, hangry as it likes to be known as, during the rest of the day. And we, because of that, because all things to do nutritional, which I won't go into here in this video, but it affects the way that you behave, and it affects your emotions and affects your tiredness. Put on that something else that's going on in your life. Perhaps you've experienced a loss of some sort, or perhaps something has happened that's made you angry or frustrated, or you've had a conversation where you haven't checked the meaning and you are confused by that conversation. And so we're emotionally driven, and so we do things that we wish we didn't do. And okay, maybe this is just me. I'm hoping some of you are sitting watching this video going, oh yeah, I do that. But I recognise that I am a very emotional person. I know that I'm very emotionally driven. And there are times when we need to stop and be conscious about that. Now, I'm not saying this is easy by any stretch of the imagination. But what I'm saying is, if you can recognise the triggers that set you off emotionally, then you can probably do something about it. Even that, if that is to just step away. Step away from that moment and go, do you know what? I don't want to be in this conversation, communication anymore, because I'm saying stuff that I don't want to say. So I'm going to step away from it. And it might be that you come home, and rather than go straight into whatever you're doing, is you just take some time out. Now, a lot of people talk about mindfulness, so I don't know what your thoughts are about that. There's a lot of proof that it works, and some people are very cynical about it. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm kind of just discovering mindfulness. I think it is important to take time out personally, and I see a lot of people that I work with burn out because we don't take time out. And so then our conversations are emotionally driven again. And we've already talked over the last 10 days about how those emotional conversations become conversations that we take out on the people that we love and care about the most, which is always fascinating. And they accept it. I'm not saying it's right, but people that love and care about us the most accept it because they know our other traits very well. Sometimes when we're emotional, we give a very bad first impression to complete strangers. And just a couple of instances that I've seen recently, just travelling in my normal day-to-day life. So I saw a lady turn up at a petrol station. She came in the no entry sign. started filling up her car, but because she was facing the wrong way, it's a health and safety breach, so the fuel doesn't get dispensed. And the cashier said, "Hey, excuse me, lady at pump 6, I'm afraid, can you turn your car around because it's health and safety?" Now, logically, you'd go, yeah, I get that. I'm facing completely the wrong way. Everything's coming towards me. I'm on a petrol station. So I'll just drive out, I'll turn my car around, I'll come back in. But no, I had no idea what was going on in this lady's life. I would suggest something, but she gave a very emotional reaction, in my opinion. She gave a very emotional reaction, which was to come into where the cashier was, to come to the front of the queue, to shout at the cashier about how ridiculous this was, and she just wants to fill up with petrol, and then not only go back and just get in her car and either drive off or turn the car around, but then to tell everybody on the forecourt of the petrol station how ridiculous this was. Now, that is not normal behaviour. It's not normal behaviour when you're driving down the road and have some road rage because somebody's cut you up. You give an immediate emotional reaction. Now, that might be a defensive reaction because you feel that you're threatened, that your space is threatened. But you'll say things, maybe in front of other people, that you wouldn't normally say because you're being emotionally driven. So today I would just like you to think about when you are emotionally triggered. What triggers you off? And it could be anything. It could be tiredness, it could be an emotion, it could be a loss. It could be all of those put together, which will then create an even bigger emotional reaction. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together some podcasts and some longer videos where we're going to talk about every single subject that we've already talked about over the last 10 days, and we're going to go into them in a lot deeper way. So have a look at how you behave emotionally and rationally, and how that affects your behaviour and your conversation, because we're very driven by that. And what will happen is we have an event. The event will be looked at in our brains. We'll look at it from our values and beliefs and our experiences. We'll think about it. It will cause an emotional trigger. Then that emotional trigger will play out in our behaviours, and our behaviours include our conversation and our communication. So I hope that's clear. I hope that makes sense, and probably a good way to end the last 10 days. So another one of my favourite subjects is emotional and rational conversation. I know that when I stop and look at my own life, there are times when I can work out what the triggers are. And when I can work out what the triggers are, I can avoid them, which then puts me in a much better place to have a logical conversation. Ask the people who love and care about you the most about how you come across in your communication. Because if you don't ask, you'll never know. And if you never know, you can't change it. Just be mindful that when you ask them, expect to get the truth. And if you are in an emotional state, don't ask. And don't ask when you're drunk either, or have had a few wines or beers, because you might react in a different way, in a very defensive way. Okay, so that's it from the 10 days. Thank you so much for sticking with me, for being with me. I've learned an awful lot over the last 10 days. I've questioned a lot of things about what I believe to be true. I've started looking about my behaviour and my communication every day that I do these videos, because it's more and more about self-awareness. Communication is a skill. It is, people call it a softer skill. I don't agree with the word softer, because it's what you do every day, all of the time. And yet we don't know very much about it because we do it so unconsciously all of the time. So now we're in the conscious world. It means that we can change, and it means that we can improve, and that we can have better relationships with people, whether that's our kids, family, estranged partners, friends, whatever that was or is just improving those relationships. So thank you very much. You can find me at Nikki Comms Coach at Facebook, or at Nikki Comms Coach at Twitter. And I look forward to doing some podcasts and some videos. Please, please, please visit me at thecommunicationcoach.co.uk and just leave some comments around what you would like me to cover. This is about you. I can talk about communication for hours on end. I'm passionate about it. I love it. I think it's so important around building relationships, and I include myself in that all of the time. All of the time I continue to learn. Every time I do something like this, I continue to learn. So thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to do that. Or email me at info@thecommunicationcoach, or leave me a message on any of my Facebook or Twitter pages. Thank you so much. Take good care. It is Friday here in the UK. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.